Welcome to episode number 165 of Broad Street Hustle. I'm your host tonight, Jason Sayeda, and we are going to start off by talking Phillies on this show. We haven't really touched on the Phillies in probably a month or so, so we'll do a quick Phillies update, and then we're going to jump into Saratoga. So Saratoga, the meet is off and running. This will be I guess our initial shot at handicapping for the official Saratoga meet anyway. So um, we will do the pick four, the late pick four, which will include the Jim Dandy. So let's get started. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Giovanina's Pizza. You tried the rest, now try the best. Tommy can't join us tonight, but we are joined by Jimmy the Chalk.
What's up,
Jimmy,
Jason?
how are you?
All right.
And what would a Saratoga handicapping session be without the legend? He's back, Jimmy D.
Great to be back, fellas. It's the happiest time of the year.
It is. It sure is. I started out pretty well in Huddy. I was 11th as of last week. I had a kind of a bad week last week. I'm down to 24th, but
It's not bad.
I'm in it. I'm in it. So, all right, let's get started. So we said we're gonna kick it off with the Phillies. I I did the cardinal sin of I was writing notes for this podcast, and I put their record as 59-43 when they were up 5-0 last night. So I had to go back and change my notes and make it 58-44 because they blew the game in dramatic fashion. But listen, we could talk about that game, or we could talk about the where they stand right now. I'm gonna kick it off by saying I truly think, and you guys might kill me on this. I think they're built for the playoffs with this rotation, with Wheeler and Sanchez, and Ranger. Let's hope he's not dropping off like he did in the second half last year, and that was just a blip for his last start. But at least those top two guys, I don't think there's any team in the National League that wants to see the Phillies coming up, in their round of the playoffs. So, and we know Dombrowski. I know Dombrowski is making a big trade. Get ready. It might be prospects that you guys like that are going to go in the trade, but I think this is his Phillies life that he's playing for here. Because if they shit the bed again, I think he's gone. So I think he's going to do something dramatic. I think he's going to do something big, and we could get into that too. But I'll throw it to Jimmy the Chalk first. Take it where you want, Chalky.
Well, despite their record over the last 10 or however you want to look at it, 5-5 last 10, I'm very much bullish on their chances right now, and that's pending whatever upgrade we see. Because I agree, I think there's no if Dombrowski doesn't do something significant for the bullpen and saving and bringing Robertson back for a third time is not significant, but it's a low cost alternative than having to trade for 2 or 3 relievers, I guess. But again, I'm bullish if this team plays the way they've been playing. Now you say, oh, they've been 5-5, but bottom line is we've seen that when they've gotten knocked out of the playoffs the last couple of years, it's not because they've been losing a lot of 8-7 games. It's because they're losing 2-1, 4-1. So right now you got Schwarber red hot. You got Harper off the DL red hot. Real Muto has pulled his average up. Now he's not hitting for power. He's on pace for maybe 10 home runs this year, and you can argue that he's not worth that contract at that money. But to hit where he's hitting in the lineup, to hit 270 and knock some guys in occasionally, I think you're fine with that. You need another bat for the lineup that's going to be consistent. The Kepler experiment has to end. He's got to go. He doesn't want to be here, obviously, it seems like, anymore. And I mean, that's your whole with Bohm being on the DL. I don't know that you can be 100% sure that Bohm is going to be healthy the rest of the year because this is a re-aggravation of the injury from earlier. So, and Turner's not hitting 300 anymore, but he's still doing a decent enough job, I think, at leadoff, except for the fact that he hasn't hit a home run at Citizens Bank Park since the Eagles were 2-1 last year. So that's a pretty long time. But look, so you have a hole right now, 4-5 in the lineup if you're not going to put Real Muto there because Castellanos isn't going to be consistent enough. With Bohm out. So I think your bats, the way they're hitting now, can get you to the World Series if your pitching stays the way it is. And I have a lot of confidence in the rotation too. Like you said, I think Rangers going to be okay for now. I'm going to be bullish on Nola coming back and being somewhat serviceable, even in a 4 role. Lizardo concerns me because it seems like he's tipping pitches again. If that's really the problem, hopefully it's easy enough to fix. But they seem like he was tipping them last night.
See, I see that 4th spot as being a combination of those guys. Like you might get a Nola.
Yeah, I don't think you can have Lizardo starting as your 4th.
No, I think you get Nola for 3
and Lizardo for 3 or something like that. Yeah, no,
3.
I agree. And it seems like Painter's struggling at AAA, so I don't know. Him coming up is really the answer. Yeah. But the blue chip got to do whatever you can piece to get this team over the hump is the bullpen, and we'll get into trade talk, I'm sure, because by the time we record next week, the deadline will have passed.
Sure.
I'm okay. I'm okay if they, if I have to choose one or the other, it's definitely bullpen. I would live with them not upgrading the lineup through trade, although I would like to see something else done there. But, the one thing the other thing that's concerned me a little bit, and I'll kick it to Jimmy D after this.
Yeah.
You saw it with Suarez and you saw it with Lizardo, I think. Lizardo, you've seen it more than once. It's like, Ranger got squeezed and then he gave up a couple runs. Lizardo, Realmuto dropped out, and I've seen Lizardo now. After that, he sort of melted down a little bit, and in the Braves game a couple weeks ago, it was a Saturday afternoon game. He was getting squeezed early on, and he kind of got unraveled and gave up like 3 or 4 early runs that kind of put him back. So the mental mindset of like, okay, you don't get the call that maybe you think you should have and still being able to keep it together. Like Wheeler obviously has that. Sanchez seems to be able to have that. Ranger, you would think with that slow heartbeat, he could do it, but certainly Lizardo concerns me with that, and that he's not, and I think Thompson even said as much last night. So,
see, I wonder if it's that, or is it like he has an issue pitching out of the stretch?
Oh, the stretch is definitely, yes. He's tipping pitches in the stretch. There was a video breakdown today where it seemed like that was Cora, on the Boston manager, caught something and signaled to the first base coach who gave it to the guy at the grand slam or whatever. It's the way he holds his glove in the stretch. But you'll see it. Like, he'll walk 2 or 3 people in a row sometimes. Because I think, like, especially if he's not getting... Being in the stretch, obviously, gets in his head probably. But if he walks a guy when he thought, I should have struck this guy out, that probably snowballs it and compounds everything. So... Yeah. But I'm good with the top 3 in the rotation, and okay enough with the lineup with hopefully an upgrade. But we'll talk about all that in a little bit.
Yeah. Jimmy D, what do you think?
I hate to be always the devil's advocate with this team. I see a lot of Phillies games. I'm a diehard fan. I might have seen a dozen so far this year, and to say mercurial, to say inconsistent, erratic, unpredictable. It's all of the above. I can agree with you, Jace, to a certain point that they may be built for a playoff run because Sanchez and Wheeler are so good and their seasons have been so good. But then I jump off after that. I was there Sunday when Ranger fell totally apart. He couldn't find the strike zone. He lost his confidence, and it reminded me of 2024. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. I don't want to be down on the team. I love the team. But, they got some glaring weaknesses. Aaron Nola, no one's talking about this guy. This guy now is on the tail end of his career. I don't even know if he wants to come back. If you look at him in the dugout, he looks like a happy son of a bitch in that dugout, not having to go out between the lines. That's scary to me because you need him back. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Lizardo tipping pitches, maybe. But there's a guy last night, and this is another glaring weakness of this team, is the manager. There's no way he should have pitched to that guy. He wasn't pitching at that point in time. He was just throwing, trying to get a strike over. And it was obvious. You didn't have to tip the pitch at that point in time. They were just laying back. He couldn't throw a strike. He walked two guys. When do you see a guy walk two guys and runs in and still pitching with the bases loaded? Like Thompson just sat there. I'm not a Rob Thompson acolyte. I don't believe that guy. I think he gets out coached a lot of times. He's that avuncular, everybody likes him type of guy. When push comes to shove and you're in a playoff situation, you just got to make certain moves. This team averages 30 years 2 months old. You're on the other side of midnight with this team. If they don't get these pieces now, just like you guys are
Yeah.
advocating in terms of Dombrowski, he's got to find a way to get back to where he was in Boston. I don't know where he's been, but Merrifield was nowhere. Austin Hayes, nowhere. And like I'm saying, Max Kepler, the guy seems to have lost his zest to play in Philadelphia. I see him going after balls in the corner. He's trotting after balls in the corner. He's not making any plays. There's 2 or 3 plays last week where I thought he could have gotten to a ball where he's just playing it on a hop. Maybe he's frustrated because he's batting 211. I don't know. I know he's a better hitter than 211, but he hasn't proved it in Philly.
He's had some hard luck too, and with some, he hits a lot of line drives like at people. He's had a lot of hard luck.
Yeah, I thought he was
Um,
coming out of it, Jason, but I don't know how long could you stay with him. I'm just not
I
sure.
agree.
You
Yeah,
know, they're begging, like mentioned earlier, and Chalky mentioned it. The bullpen's begging for another piece. What Alvarado did to this team was a sin and a shame. And he's getting a pass for that, but that's baloney that he gets a pass for that. Because now he's going to come back September, he'll pitch decently, and you don't have him for the playoffs, which makes the team even more consistent. You don't have that dynamic thread that you go from sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth inning. You're going to have that missing part. Can we fill it? I don't know. But one guy I want to talk about, and I know we'll talk about this later, so I'll
yeah,
save some of it.
I
But
agree.
Johan Rojas, just one last comment I'll make before I go back to you, Jay. Johan Rojas in the last 32 games was 12 for 72. He's your center fielder, 12 for 72. His slash average is 325, 406, 424. This is a
Yeah,
guy who should be he should be playing down 19th and Johnson, not the major leagues. This guy does not have major league potential. I don't care how good a defensive center fielder you are. You just can't do that in this lineup. That bottom of that lineup is anemic at this point in time, and the top of it's wonderful. And your starting pitching this year has been unbelievably good, and I hope it stays that way. But
yeah,
you're 25 and 25 on the road. That's not good enough. You're not going to win in the playoffs if that continues.
yeah, yeah. I'm glad you brought up Rojas because I have this theory on Justin Crawford, and I've been saying for weeks now, like you have a black hole in center field with Rojas and Marsh, an absolute black hole. If this kid is a true prospect, why isn't he up yet? Now,
Agree.
I was listening to Eskin last week, and he interviewed Larry Boa, and Eskin asked him that question, and Boa, I was surprised Boa was as honest as he was. Boa was like, Howard, he said, there are scouts that don't think his swing plays for the major leagues. He said, now I don't agree. Of course, he's going to say that. He works for the Phillies. But he said, I don't agree, this and that. But I think there's issues with Crawford. Don't be surprised if he's one of the guys that goes this week in a trade.
I think with Crawford at this point, my argument would be, unless you're not trying to trade for an outfielder, don't bring him up before the deadline. Because to bring him up now, and if you get a center fielder, you're going to keep him up, you're going to send him back down, then you're yanking him up and down. If we get to August and they haven't traded for a center fielder, I would be in the same boat saying, like, okay, if these guys aren't playing well up here, why is he not up? What do you have to lose to
Yeah.
get him up there and see if he can give you something better than what you're getting from either Marsh or or Rojas. But I think the closer you got, the closer, especially now, as close we are, unless somebody gets hurt, I think you just let it play out and see because if they trade for somebody, then you're not going to bring him up anyway. So maybe that's what they're thinking. I don't know.
Are they afraid that you call him up and he shows that?
That's the other part. Is he going to be in a potential deal and you expose his weaknesses?
You Mick Abel him.
Yeah.
You know, when they brought Mick Abel back up instead of letting him have that one that one game where he dominated or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was a couple games he was up. I forget.
But Jace, the Phillies are notorious for that. Play the young kid. I used to say years ago when Dwight Gooden came up, they said, I don't know how good he's going to be. He was too young. That's when he pitched his best.
19.
That's when he was
19.
strongest, when he was a teenager. And then he got older, you get hurt, you get banged around a little bit. You have to pitch on brains rather than just brawn. But this kid, he runs like a deer.
It was a lot more than that took Gooden down. But
well, yeah, Tim. But you know what? It's youth that wins baseball games, and we don't develop our youth. We got Ryan Howard hitting home runs in the minor league. We go out and get Jim Thome, which put Ryan Howard in the minor leagues for another 2 years. I mean, you can't do things like that if you believe in your farm system.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the young pitchers that they've shut down for load management over the last couple. I mean, was it Strasburg's rookie year? He was lighting up. They shut him down. They might have cost themselves a World Series that year. They got knocked out in the first round for load management, and they eventually won a World Series pretty much despite him down the road. But I mean, this team has been more reluctant to call guys up soon. Sooner rather than later, for sure. And I don't know if maybe it's because they don't trust their own judgment with the guys in the minor leagues. Think, well, he's not really that good. I don't know, but they don't like to bring him up too soon. That's not something the Phillies will get accused of.
All right, let's do some trade talk. So like Chalky mentioned, if we do the podcast next Thursday, trade deadline is 3:00 next Thursday. So. There's obviously a hole in the bullpen. Now, they signed David Robertson. When they first did it, I kind of threw my hands up in the air and said, another bad Dombrowski move. But I looked at his numbers last year. He was really good still last year. So, obviously he hasn't pitched yet this year. But, I mean, that's an arm that's now a seventh inning guy that you have now, right? So now – when I look at their bullpen now, they need a closer, which we'll bring up some names. But if you go backwards from there, the eighth inning, I think Kerkering's solid as an eighth inning guy now. He was really good last night. That sweeper was hitting spots and he was painting corners and stuff. He's using his fastball now, which he was afraid to, but now he's not. Seventh inning, if you're splitting that between Strom and Robertson, there's nothing wrong with that. And then, Lazar, he's not bad if you need a long guy in the playoffs or something for, fifth inning or whatever. And then you're going to have somebody from the starting rotation that's going to be actually in the bullpen. So really, when I look at it, they need a closer. I don't think they need anything more than a closer. What do you guys think about that, Chalky?
I mean, at this point, unless you're going to get two guys from, there's a couple of teams that have two relievers that are potentially in the market. Unless you're going to do a package deal at a reasonable price, I would focus more on your a stud closer and some other kind of offensive or defensive help, as opposed to getting two relievers if it's going to cost you a significant. So, we'll get into teams, but Pittsburgh and Minnesota, just to mention two teams, have two guys each that could possibly be traded, right? And you could probably slot any of those four guys, well, two definitely, but maybe the other two guys as the closer in on this team. I don't think you need to do a package deal and get both of those guys to come in here right now. But, I mean, you if you solidify that ninth inning, then you can back your way into everything else. And as far as Roberts, I mean, was he not looking to play the whole year, or was he not just there's no interest? Because I was a little surprised when I was looking kind of like you. It's like, wow, he really did pitch pretty well last year, that he was still available, unless it was like an intentional, I'm 40, I'm going to hang out a little bit, because
I don't think so, Jim. I just think nobody picked him up.
There wasn't demand.
I don't
because there
think.
was, I mean, there was multiple teams like what the Phillies weren't the only team that was interested in him because it was like Boston
Yeah.
and the Dodgers need
He
help
threw for
too.
like 9
Yeah,
teams. He threw for like 9
and I think three or
teams.
four teams, including the Phillies, were like seriously going after him. So it's not the Phillies were the only guys left standing. Um, but for him to, I mean, look at that age to be, the wear and tear throughout the season is not going to be an issue. And if he's throwing well in that display, if you need him for 2 months, I mean, it's with. I'm okay with it because bringing him in means you don't have to trade for another arm if you're going to put your faith in that, which means you have more prospects available to go do something else or something bigger than if you got to get two guys in here.
Yeah.
I think you're renting him for 2 months. I think
Jim,
you're absolutely right. You're going to rent him for 2 months. Hope he comes in fresh and hope he can throw. But unfortunately, the guy you really need is pitching in Toronto right now, and it's a guy we had on the roster. But you got 25 saves right now. Jeff Hopkins lights out.
yeah,
It's another move.
I'm yeah. No, I was a Hoffman guy. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
The Hoffman, letting him go. I mean, the fact that multiple teams flagged his medicals made me feel a little better about it. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean he's going to get hurt, and he hasn't. But if you know that, giving him a big contract in the offseason, would we have said, is it too risky? I don't know. But Hoffman and Estevez, I mean, those are two guys you had last year. I don't think anybody really wanted to keep Estevez, but
I didn't want him back. I'm fine with him.
he's back. But it's a low pressure situation out there in Kansas City. They didn't live up to expectations, so
Yeah. Now my thoughts are they're adding a bat. Like I think he's going all out at this deadline. I could be wrong. They're definitely getting a closer. I think they're getting a left fielder, definitely a right-handed left fielder because Weston Wilson doesn't belong anywhere near the major leagues. Like that's experiment's got to be done. And Kepler might go. So he's going to get a left fielder. I don't know if he's getting a center fielder, but what I do think is Marsh might be on the block because then if Marsh goes, now you could call Crawford up, right? Because that's your left-handed. If again that wouldn't be a great platoon with Crawford and Rojas, but I don't know. I mean, is it realistic to think they're going to get two outfielders and a closer? I
Do
don't
you
know.
think they're going to go
What
after
do you
this
guys
kid from
think?
Pittsburgh, this O'Neill Cruz?
Oh, that's interesting. How about that? That's
that's
a good one,
that's the
Jimmy.
hot rumor of the day.
That's the hot.
Is it?
Exactly
Yeah,
I
right,
didn't hear that.
Chalky. Yeah.
yeah. So the Pittsburgh reporter said that they'll listen, but and then I think Jeff Passan from ESPN said they'll listen, but they're not trading them. But obviously, the two bullpen pieces in Pittsburgh that have been mentioned was Bednar and
Yeah.
the other guy,
Santana.
who's on my team. I couldn't even remember. I mean, so they've been scouting the Pirates games. My again, what's the cost? Right, obviously, he's not going to come cheap. He's 26 years old. I know when we were in Pittsburgh, Jason said this kid could be a future MVP. So obviously, I know he's got one fan on this podcast. My concern would be he's a left-hander. That's not adding a right-handed bat in the lineup. But if you're going to put him in the outfield, he can play. He leads the league in stolen bases, I think, right? So
Yeah, it's power, Jimmy. You don't hit for average, but nonetheless.
he's got 16 home runs, I think, right now.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's the cost. Like if you could get Cruz and Bednar for whatever that would end up being. Now, I wouldn't trade Crawford, Miller, and whoever else.
Well,
Painter for him, but
let me stop you there because if you're getting Cruz, you're giving up.
You're giving up something.
oh yeah. I think you're giving up. You're giving up two. You're giving up two of your top three prospects. I wouldn't give up all three, is what I'm saying. But
Now, my problem with that is I'm not a Bednar fan. I think they need a better. Your Bednar is just like last year with Estevez and whatever clown they got the year before. Like no more clowns for closer. Like we need a legit closer, whether it's the guy for the Twins or the guy for the Indians. I'm going to call them the Indians because our president would like the old names to come back. And then Miller, right? Miller, you can't forget him. So I think one of the big names is come and Helsley. Now the Cardinals are now out of it pretty much.
Yeah,
So
I'm Helsley's not. I'm not big on Helsley. Like, if we can get it for a ham sandwich, but reading some stuff is like his velocity and some of his numbers are down, and
is it down?
I'm less bullish on him than I was maybe earlier in the year. I mean, if you get a big bat and he ends up being your reliever coming in, okay, sure, no problem. But as like
Yeah.
the big piece to land, I'm not as big on him as I was after reading some of the things this week.
And another stopgap guy I don't want is Finnegan from the Nationals. I don't want him.
Yeah.
So um, I would lean more to give me the big rock solid lockdown closer and a bat rather than the big bat and then another clown closer that's going to blow playoff games like the last couple years. So
Jace, whatever though, like I mentioned earlier, this team is getting long in the tooth, and
absolutely,
I know Harper, even if he has to restructure his contract, I don't know. You talked about resigning people. Do you resign Remuto for 3 more years? I mean, he's a wonderful guy. He's good for the team. He's a
yeah,
religious guy. There's nothing bad. Defensively,
I
he's
like
great.
JT
He
a lot.
calls a
Yeah,
game, but he's lost all his power at this point in time. What's he going to
so,
be 3 years from now? That's a
I
problem.
hear you.
Uh,
My issue though, Jim, with that is who are we getting as a catcher
I don't
if
know.
it's not JT?
Yeah, I hear you. This team is catcher weak. There's no question about it. You don't
No,
want
yeah,
Stubbs. You don't want Marchand. I hear you.
no,
I
I,
mean, I think it comes down its length and price. Like 2 years at
maybe Jim.
10, 15, 10,
Maybe,
15 million a year, that's a reasonable contract.
maybe.
I think it's going to be three.
Three
I
year
don't
three
think.
years at 35, 40. No.
Can't get them all. You
Uh,
can't get Suarez and Remuto. You just can't do it. And then you got the big guy. I don't know
Yeah.
how they don't sign Schwarber.
so
I,
the pro-
They're in a tough spot. Yeah,
true.
there's
That's
no
true.
way they can't try to. I mean,
unfortunately, I don't think Rangers coming back because if you just look at the numbers, right? You got obviously Wheeler and Sanchez, right? And now you're going to have Painter's going to come up, right? So you're going to have Painter. Lizardo's probably not going anywhere. I know everybody wants to get rid of him. He's probably not going anywhere. And the other guy that's not going anywhere, you're stuck with Nola.
Nola. Yeah.
I don't like it. You're stuck with him. Nobody is taking that contract.
Yeah.
On, Dombrowski blew that by signing him. So, if you're prioritizing things, Schwarber, without a doubt, needs to come back. I think Real Muto's coming back. I think Suarez is gone.
Hmm.
So,
yeah, I would think that's probably the most likely scenario.
yeah, I mean, unless you're trading Luzardo, I don't know. I think you're selling low if you're trading Luzardo
Yeah.
after this year. I still like Luzardo. I think when he's good, he's really good. But
Well,
when he's bad, he's
if they were showcasing him last night, it's not going to help the cause.
no. Well, the first 4 innings, what do you have a no hitter, right?
Yeah.
So
That's exactly how he pitches, Jace. He's either great or he's funky.
yeah,
He just can't.
yeah.
And here we go back to inconsistency, mercurial, crazy. You just don't know what you're getting.
Yeah, and you can't have that in the
No,
playoffs. So,
no.
I think that game four, you're gonna have Nola, and then you're gonna have Luzardo. That's going to be your game four pitchers. So, all right, guys. Anything else on your minds, Phillies wise, or are we ready for some Saratoga?
Real quick, I have a couple like trade deals. Let me just run by you guys, see if you guys would do
All right.
it right.
Yeah.
All right. First one, Phillies get Taylor Ward from Angels, right? For Mick Abel.
In a minute.
Yeah. Sure.
Phillies get Mason Miller for Aiden Miller, Eduardo Tate, who's their number 4 prospect catcher, and Mick Abel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'd do that also.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you have to because you got him for at least another 4 years or so
Yep,
locked up,
yep.
right? Okay. Phillies get Harrison Bader and Griffin Jacks from the Twins for Abel, Escobar, who's second baseman, 6 prospect, and Marsh.
Again, I'm going to say yeah.
Yeah.
I've mentioned Harrison
I
Bader
like Bader
a million
too.
times.
Yeah.
And Jax is now the only issue there is That means Jax is your closer. I don't know if he's a closer.
He's not closing in Minnesota because they have Duran, but
And they had him the other night. I was watching against the Dodgers, and he didn't close.
I mean, you'd be bringing him in as I think you got to be trading for him as your closer.
Yeah. So if that's the case, I would say no.
The other one's a little less like blockbuster. Laureano and Dominguez from Baltimore for Escobar and Gene Cabrera, who's number 12 prospect. So
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah,
well, sure, why not? But that's
why not?
Yeah, roll the dice.
So I'm good with three out of the four of those.
so. What do you think is the most likely move? If you got to say they're going to make a move, what's the likely move? What's the player? What's the team?
If I had a guess, I would say that's a good question. I'll let Jimmy D go first because I got to think about that.
I'm not sure, but just leaning by need, it's got to involve a pitcher, and I'm not so sure
Yeah.
Dombrowski's going to do this. There's nothing in his Philly history that told us he's going to make these kind of bold moves at the deadline. I hope he does. Again, I don't want to be the devil's advocate and negative about it, but there's nothing in his track record, and that's what we talk about when we talk horses, that tells me he's going to do that. I don't know. And is he tied? Like, is Middleton tying him up? With the contracts pending, I don't know. They're
Yeah.
getting 45,000 people every night down at the stadium, so they're packing the house, and the faithful are coming. They're Stepford's the faithful. No matter what happens, they're coming back the next night. Do you ruin that
Yeah.
dynamic? I'm not sure, but I just don't think they're winning anything. Though they could win the division, as I said earlier in the year with this podcast, but I absolutely don't see them going through the division. Not with Milwaukee in that division playing the way they are. The Dodgers are being a
Yeah,
powerhouse. Chicago, I'm only talking about the NL. I'm not even mentioning the AL.
Yeah. So Chalky, I'll answer that question with what I want and what I think is going to happen. So what I want, and I don't think it's going to happen because I think the Cleveland said they're not doing it, is I would want Clase and Quan,
Quan.
right? What I think is going to happen is I think it's going to wind up being the Pirates, and you're going to get both. You're going to get Bednar and Santana.
Interesting.
Playoff experience would be a good point, Jason. That would be a good, somebody with a little playoff experience.
Yeah, that's why I don't really want the Pirates trade, but I don't see the Twins. I don't see them trading Doran, however you call his name. Mason Miller. I don't think the A's are going to give him up.
I'll tell you,
Yeah,
Rocky, Duran or Ward, you mentioned them both. I would love that.
Yeah, so my prediction, I guess you would call it, so they're going to get an outfielder and a reliever, and it's going to be in the same deal from the same team. So that limits you to say Baltimore, Minnesota, Cleveland, and we'll say Pittsburgh, whether it's Cruz or Reynolds or something like that. I'm going to say it's most likely either Baltimore or Minnesota. It might be it might be Mullins and Batista from Baltimore.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
The other thing is now it's not necessarily a buyer's market, but you got multiple guys, top notch closers that could be on the blocks. Dodgers are going to be after one too, so they're going to be. You could be in a bidding war, but you might be able to swoop in whoever. If Dodgers go out and get Duran or whoever, Phillies might be there for the next guy with a better deal than anybody else. And we'll see.
Yep.
Interesting.
As I choke. All right, Chalky. Let's jump into Saratoga.
All right, on to the late pick 4 at the Spa. This will be races 9, 10, 11, and 12 for Saturday, July 26th. We're starting off with race 9. Post time is 5:04. It is the Grade 3 Lake George, a mile and a 16th on the inner turf for 3-year-old fillies. We have some horses returning here from race Stars and Stripes weekend up at the Spa. Top 3 finishers, I believe, are all coming back here. So could be a wide open race. Jason, we'll start it off with you.
All right. So in this race, I really think, and I'm not going to be very innovative here. The five Classic Q with Ortiz and Cassie looks like he's going to be the controlling speed in this race. He's got to win at Saratoga, which I always look at, especially on turf. Um, he's going to be my top choice, and again, it's not an exciting top choice, but I'll throw two other horses in there, and once again, I'm not innovative with this horse, the four Lavender Disaster, um, and that's Irad and Brown. He's won at the distance, so I'll give him the push there. Then my long shot will be the nine Good Long Cry for Saez and Weaver. He's run well at the spot. I think he's got 2 seconds, and I think he'll be up close. And it's the inner turf, so it seems like you need to be close on inner. So I'll go three deep there, and the numbers are 5, 4, 9.
All right, Jimmy D.
You always have to wonder because I checked the weather forecast and there's always rain in the forecast at Saratoga, always. And
Yeah,
I think Friday it's supposed to rain, not Saturday.
yeah,
But I'm looking at the turf race,
right.
and maybe the turf is a little off. It's not firm. It might be good. So I'm taking that into consideration a little bit. I like the four in the Lake George. He runs close to the pace. He can run on a good turf rather than a firm turf. He never embarrasses himself. Hirad comes back. Of course, it's Chad Brown. He should go off second choice to Classic Q, and if he does, you might get $6, $8 on him. I don't know, but I think he can. He didn't run out of gas the last race. He won the allowance race, came back to Saratoga. He lost the Classic Q, but he was right there on the turn. I kind of lean to him. I'll go to a long shot for second. Mike Maker's having a lousy start to his meet. Um, and this horse is just coming into his own a little bit. These 3-year-old fillies, though, you got to understand, they haven't made a dime. These are horses that are disappointing horses that are running in what really should be an overnight stake, not a grade three, this Lake George. But I like that Altadora. You got a nice price on this horse.
Yeah,
He runs close to the lead a little bit. He closes again, if it's an off turf thing, not off turf, but just the turf is a little bit off, being in good condition rather
yeah.
than firm. And I like him. I throw pretty lavish in for third. It's not a particularly interesting race to me. I'd use three horses. I'd box them up. I don't have a strong opinion with there, but if somebody had a gun to my head, I'd have the four. Lavender's Disaster.
I guess Maker's horses aren't quarantined anymore. Wasn't it Maker and Cassie's barn had an issue last week?
He had an issue last week, but I think they're coming out now, and we'll see.
It got lifted the other day.
Okay.
All right, so I'm too deep in this one, and I'm taking two out of the wild applause. Classic Q. Nothing else to really have to say about that one. The last race, fairly well, and should be right there again. But I'm going with the Chad, but not the Chad that you guys have mentioned. I'm going with the 10. Play with Fire. Ran second to Classic Q in that last race. Had a little bit of trouble in some of these other races, but has been steadily improving. And if improves again, is going to be right there. Obviously, the 4 with a good trip could win the race. I'm not going to go with the first 3 choices in this, so I'm just going to go 5-10 and hope that the other Chad in this case does not beat me. All right, race 11, post time 5:41 Eastern will be the feature. The race 10, excuse me, race 10. We're not going to cut that out. We'll go with it. Race 10 will be the feature, the Jim Dandy Grade 2 mile and an eighth on the main track. Sovereignty returns after his Kentucky Derby and Belmont Stakes triumphs. We'll start off with the person who this race was not named after, but he is still JD. Jimmy D, kick it off.
Well, I'm not so sure. I was going to dispel that rumor, Chalky, but maybe it was named after me. But anyhow, I digress. Maybe the 72 to 75 St. Maria Goretti girls might have told me that, but not any longer. With all of that said, an unlikely winner of the 1930 Travers was the horse Jim Dandy. He was 100 to 1 in that race, and he beat a Triple Crown winner, Gallant Fox. It was a rainy, muddy, heavy track. They used to label it heavy in those days. And rainy and muddy, as you guys know, it's Saratoga all over again. It's always rainy or muddy out there, it seems, in a big race. But anyhow, in that particular race, there was a second choice, a horse called Which One. He went out and challenged Gallant Fox on the lead. And of course, they got into a speed duel and they went 49 to the half. And those days, that was lightning fast. And 113 and 3 to the mile. Jim Dandy was loping along in the mud. He loved it. He was splash-tastic in the mud. So he was just loping along. And when they hit the top of the stretch, lo and behold, he runs by the Triple Crown winner and wins by an incredible 8 lengths. Um, it never happened again. They retired Jim Dandy as a 12-year-old. But on that one summer day at 100 to 1, Jim Dandy achieved immortality by winning the Travers Stakes. And now he's got a race named after him. But with all that said, my friend, I brought you sovereignty in the Kentucky Derby. I backed off in the Belmont because the value wasn't there. Of course, I bet him in the Belmont, but the value wasn't there. At 2.5 to 3 to 1, now he's 2 to 5. So I don't know what to say about the value now because there is none. But only 4 horses are coming after him on this day. Um, I like to stay with a horse. My Casa Creed days, my fierceness days, my sovereignty days, my Queen of Cat days. And I'm going to be a new one with Lightman that I'm going to give you for the Evan Shipman coming next Thursday. Stay with the horse, stay with the course. However, this is the graveyard of champions. At 2 to 5, I don't know what you do. He's much the best. Will he win? I'm not sure. Baez is coming in from the West Coast, impeccable breeding. Can he beat him? Sovereignty ran by him easily, but multiple lengths in 2 races. Sandman tries Blinkers. Does he get better with Blinkers? Sovereignty ran by him. Moplex, speed horse. He's going to run on the speed, but he's a grade 2 speed horse. Hill Road, stablemate of Sierra Leone, nice little horse. Again, I don't see it. Sovereignty, much the best. This is a prep for the Travers. So does Mott load him up in this race, or does he just prep him to win this race and then go on to the Breeders' Cup? I don't know, but I'm not going any deeper than Sovereignty. 1 horse for me.
All right. So for me, I was thinking about some of the things you just mentioned, Jimmy, and Mott is going to do what he thinks is best for the horse, and he's never really struck me as a trainer that puts a horse in a race just to get a race in him for the most part, especially if he's got a top quality horse. So I don't see this as like, oh, he's just in here as a prep for the Travers. He's ready to go. He's been off since Belmont. Once a month or around that timing is going to work out for this horse. So I think Sovereign will be ready to go. Now, I went against him in those other 2 races, so I'm not going to change now. So I'm gonna make Biza my top pick with the hope, and it could be a very big hope. He's a horse that can show early speed. And there's only one other horse of the 5 in Moplex that might go out there early. In the Derby and the Belmont, Biza probably might have had the best run in the Derby of any horse. He had some trouble. His sheets came back the same as Sovereignty. Somehow Sovereignty got first jump on him both times in both races. I'm going to say that Baeza can get out and get the lead and hopefully lope him along and give Sovereignty too much to make up in the stretch and make him come chase Baeza this time around. Barrios is coming in to ride him. Pratt's pretty good, but Barrios was riding him on the West Coast, right? So maybe there's something there. I don't know. But for this purposes of this pick 4, I will have one that has Sovereignty because you can't leave him out, but I will be pressing heavily on Baeza the 1 here. Jason.
Okay, this is the race where I'm going to look foolish probably Saturday night around 7 o'clock. I just don't see I kind of disagree with you, Chalky. I don't think Baez is going to be anywhere close to. I shouldn't say anywhere close to Moplex. I think 3 Moplex is going out on the lead. I think Baez is going to try to sit off of him, and I think Sandman and Sovereignty and Hill Road are all going to drop back. And I've seen one too many times at Saratoga when a speed horse gets out on the lead and
Wins.
he's not pressured, um, and he keeps going. And I'm a horse that's 2 for 2 at Saratoga, so he's proven he likes Saratoga. I'm going to take a chance that this horse is just going to get an easy lead. He's going to keep on going. Sovereignty. I I kind of think that Mott is he's got him in as a prep for the Travers, and I don't think he's going to be fully cranked. Mott did that in at Gulfstream, right? And he didn't win the prep
No, he
race. Was
lost.
it the Florida Derby? He didn't win, right? Or did
He
he win
lost.
the?
No,
He lost, right?
he lost that.
He lost the Florida Derby because he had his points and he was just prepping for the Kentucky Derby. I kind of see it the same way. I'm going to give you a cold exacta 3/5, and in my pick four, I'm going to look foolish, but I'm singling the three
I'll tell you,
Moplex.
Jace, one thing
All
I'll
right,
add
well,
to
three
that
different
is
opinions on
I've
top
seen a
there.
lot of 5 horse races out there with a 1 to 5 shot go right down the tubes. I watched you guys were there, American Pharaoh, and it was ridiculous. I've seen Azeri lose there. I've seen some monster horses lose there. It really is the graveyard of champions, and I
Yeah,
say that liking the horse, but beware, buyer beware.
I think he's vulnerable.
Yep.
I do.
One thing I will say about Moplex is he's a New York bred, and they're running him here, and they didn't run him. Was it today in the Curlin, which is the New York
Yep.
restricted race? So maybe that says something to how high they are on this horse. That they're going to run him against the best of the triple, or excluding journalism, horses that were in the money in the Triple Crown. Even if it's a shorter field, I don't know how many they had in the Curlin today, but it would have been a softer field no matter
Yeah, they
how you
only had
look at it.
7,
I
Jim,
think
and
Chancer McPatrick won
Chance
that today.
Patrick, the hopeful winner wins.
Yeah. And I don't even know that he's a two-turn horse,
Mm.
really. So interesting. So we'll see. Might be something to that. All right, on to race 11, 6:16 post time. It's a maiden special weight for $90,000. Phillies and mares, 3-year-old and up on the inner turf at a mile and a 16th. So in this one, I don't know that you're going to get these morning line prices on these horses, but the morning line favorite is ridden by our friend Frankie Dettori. So I'm going to be playing against that horse, and I'm going to give you 3 here. The 6, Nona Lynn, Chad Brown, with Franco. I don't think you're going to get 6-1 on this horse, but I think it's a horse that you have to include. Ran decent on the Saratoga turf, just missed by a neck with a little bit of trouble back in June. I'm also using the one night Jasmine for DePaz, who ran okay, not necessarily great to some of these horses in that same race I just mentioned. But she broke awkwardly, so had a little bit of trouble. Rosario's riding very well to start the meet, so I don't want to ignore him. And then the other one I'll throw in there is for Talia. Now, other side of that is Dylan Davis is not riding particularly well to start this meet like he did last year.
No.
But Clement in a small sample with his dad's horses, but he's done well so far, and 30% at over second off of a long break, and I think those are going to be better value than either the 3 for Walden, especially with Ortiz on there, and the Sisterson horse that I mentioned before with Dettori. So if you want an order, I'll say 614, but they're all pretty much on the same line for me to try and beat the favorites in the 11th. Jason.
So I'm going to read from my notes, Chalky, and I say when Dettori is on the favorite, I see it as a good race to take shots against. So I'm also going to make the 6 Nona Lynn my top choice. Had a little trouble down the stretch in the last, but he lost by a nose as the favorite in the race. I'm also going to use the 5 Will of a Woman or Woman. I don't know how that's pronounced, but um, he was also in that last race. He finished a hair behind Nona Lynn, so I'm going to use the 6. I'm going to use the 5 too. 3 off script. It's IRAD first turf for Will Walden. So I think that's kind of shady. First turf, he's throwing him in, and IRAD jumps on, and IRAD's got look good percentage running for Will. So definitely throwing him in. And then the last is the one Night Jasmine. He's got Rosario, and he should show some speed. Um, so um, have to throw him in too. So I'm 6-5-3-1 in that order.
All right, Jimmy D.
This is probably the race, Jason, that I'm going to look a little foolish. I like the 10. I like Starship Pegasus. It's Michelle Nevins, and she does well with first timers. She's sneaky good. She's been unlucky at this meet. She's lost a couple horses, physically lost them, um, and they were euthanized. But this horse is bred impeccably. It's a $200,000 horse. Um, and Chester and Mary Broman, they breed more. These New York breds, they breed more New York bred winners than hers makes potato chips. They're just consistent with this. They own that kind of division. They're always the breeders of the year. And they always come up with this with sneaky. When this is an Uncle Mo, like I said, a large purchase, working out consistently. I think Michelle Nevins is usually the race that knocks me out in a pick four. Uh, I'd go four deep in this race. Of course, I would use my Richard Dreyfuss philosophy in this race also, the old let it ride philosophy. Since you guys hate Dettori, I'd put him in there on the board because you know he's always going to come back to burn you. So I'd use him second,
Yeah,
and then
sure.
I'd go to Dylan Davis with Christoph Clement's old horse. His son's got him now, of course. He's got a little closing kick, and the distance may suit him. Um, the other horse I'd throw in is that Nona Lynn that we've mentioned already. Franco gets off the four to go to him. Of course, he gets off the ride for Chad Brown, who always is right there somehow along. But I would, since I'm in our pick four, I would be using the free square for sovereignty, I would yield four deep in this race. But I would give you the long shot in this race, and the long shot being the 10 Starship Pegasus.
All right. That brings us to the nightcap race 12, post time 6:49. Another maiden, but this one is a maiden claim, $50,000 price, but another mile and a 16th on the turf for the ladies. No, I'm sorry, it's for the men or the geldings or other, I guess. I don't know. But so three of these four races are mile and a 16th on the inner turf. So hopefully the rain holds off, or else these picks will be worth even less than they are right now. Jason, we'll start with you for the nightcap.
Yeah, I think we should be okay rain wise for Saturday. Sunday, I'm not so sure, but this race I thought was tough. I spread big time in this race, and I'll just run down my horses here. Um, my top pick will be the eight Majorca for Sharp and Saez. Uh, First time Sharp. Now I know he's coming off of being a Pletcher horse, but first time Sharp, Adam Blankers. Sharp's got those magic vitamins working every once in a while. So, I something could be shady with this horse. I, he could go to the lead, inner turf, or he could be close to the lead anyway. So, I want horses that are going to be forward on the inner turf. So I'll make him my top choice. Um, Now, seven Faithful Lightning, he's dropping. So, it's Cox. He's dropping and cutting back. So I know he's the favorite, and you really shouldn't use the favorite when you're spreading five deep, which I'm going to. But you got to throw him in just on the drop, I think, and it being Cox. The six, who is Magic Michael. Carmouche is riding. Um, he also may show speed, so it's his first turf. So just throw him in just on Carmouche being aggressive. Um, the nine is Pletcher and Irad and Rapoli. He's trying blinks. Um, Again, maybe the blanks are going to move him forward. Being closer to the pace, so throw him in, and then my last horse will be the 11. Got Stripes, another horse that's dropping for DeVoe and Ortiz, Jose Ortiz, who's been on fire this meet. Just on the drop, you got to throw him in too. So if you want an order from me, it's 8, 7, 6, 9, 11. But I'm 5 deep.
All right, Jimmy D.
He's a very tough race. And for my racing fans that
Yeah.
sometimes watch this podcast when we do racing, I want you to think of this. This is a $50,000 claim, which means you can pick up a horse for $50,000. Be very sophomoric about the explanation. Faithful Lightning, the 7, was purchased for $600,000. Majorca, which is already mentioned, was purchased for $42,000. The horse I'm going to eventually give you here is Hedge the Risk, purchased for I believe I says $90,000. Think about that. If you're an investment guy, you purchase these horses for a couple $100,000, and now you're in a $50,000 claiming race. These horses are not 9 years old. These horses are 3 years old. But obviously they haven't panned out the way people thought they were going to pan out, and they're willing to lose them. Now, why do you say like little guys can't get in the game of racing? Can a little guy afford to buy a horse for a couple $100,000 and put him in a claiming race after 4, 5, 6 races for $50,000? I mean, you talk about this at this level, at this particular level, it's a rich man's game. I'm not talking about Parks on a Tuesday afternoon. I'm talking about Saratoga on a Saturday afternoon. These people are willing to lose their horses. With that said,
Jim, let me
yeah,
ask you
sure.
this.
Yeah.
Let me just ask you this, Jim. In a race like this, like, is this a race where Rapoli says, "I just want to get a win at
Well, Jason,
Saratoga. I'm gonna throw the 9 horse
exactly. And
in."
that's exactly why I'm going to give you, to get to the point, Hedge the Risk, the 10 horse. Because Claravich stable wants to win the meet every year.
Yeah.
And they throw their horse, just like you said, they throw their horse
Yeah.
in the race. They're willing to lose him. Chad Brown's willing to lose him. He's in his barn. He's not that fast. He's not going in any stakes races. Let's get rid of him. We'll take the loss. We'll write it off. We'll come up somewhere else. That's a shame, man. That's a shame. Because some of these horses develop later. Some of them don't. And Chad Brown knows a lot more about horses than I'll ever know. But the point being, that's what they do. So I would give you the 10 horse in this race, Hedge the Risk, for all the wrong reasons. But that's the reason why I'm giving them to you. I'd have to stretch it a little bit myself. I'd go to Majorca that you had mentioned, the 8 horse. Joe Sharp is red hot at this meet. The horse is a consistent horse. They just got him from Pletcher on another claim. No, I'm sorry, they just got him from Pletcher. He didn't claim from Pletcher. And then my last horse would be Cox's horse, the 7. But I would really like Claravich's horses, because that guy is just crazy about winning the meet, and he does this unthinkable thing all the time to lose his horse but win the race.
Yeah.
All right. So I don't have anything that wasn't mentioned already. My top pick, I will go with the favorite on this one. If you're going to press a horse, I would press this. The 7, Faithful Lightning. Cox, dropping, cutting back. Enough said there. My second pick is, so now it's the 7 as a favorite. Hedge the Risk, 10 would be my second pick for all the reasons that Jimmy just mentioned. Claravich and Brown do this every year. This to me, it's not a sign of the horse isn't worth what we paid for it or what the stud fee was. It's like, we want to get some wins. We want to get that trainer title. We want to get that owner title.
Chalky, you absolutely.
So, they'll take a shot here.
Chalky. You brought it up to me at that point.
Yeah. I mean, Claravich is there every year. If he, now that, it was Claravich, before that it was Ramsey and Rapoli trying to win every year. Now it's Claravich and Rapoli, and Brown is trying to get that trainer title. So they'll, he can well afford to drop this in for 50 and lose 250 on it, if this horse wins. And it's dropping. It was already dropped in for 100, and now it's cutting back to 50. So had no takers that time, but had trouble in that race. And then the other one was 9, Battle Drum. Again, so Rapoli, Pletcher, Irad has run second at this level, is now stretching out to 2 turns. Maybe that does something for the horse. The blinkers are on, so they could be trying something different there. But again, I don't take the fact that it's in for 50,000 as a sign that this horse isn't worth it. It's a $220,000 stud fee. So again, that's a hell of a haircut. But Rapoli wants to try to win the owner's title. 7, 10, 9 for me in the nightcap. So we'll back it up and we can give out our pick fours. Jason, you have yours ready to go?
Yeah, I'll give you a $30 pick four for 50 cents. Race 9, 4, 5, 9. Race 10, I'm single on the 3. Moplex. Might be burning $30, but I'm taking a shot. Race 11, 4 deep, 1, 3, 5, 6. And then race 12, I'm 5 deep, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11 for 50 cents. It's $30.
All right, Jimmy D.
One thing I promise you, Jason, is if you guys get out to Saratoga, I'm going to have Frankie Dettori and L&M just to shake your hand. I promise you. If
Listen,
I have to beg you,
I mean,
I
he'll-
think he's a legend.
It's not gonna be hard because he might have like 1 or 2 mounts at the
True, Jim.
most, so he'll have some
And
free
if Terry's
time on
got
his
some
hands if he's in
limoncello
town
in
that week.
in the section, he probably will come. But
Just as long as he doesn't owe you money, you'll be all right.
One of the greatest jockeys of all time.
Yeah,
I
it's
just
hard
think
to argue.
he's over the
anyhow,
hill.
I'd have a $36 pick for unless somebody's giving me more money. But I'd use the 4-8-2 in the first leg. I'd use the free square with Sovereignty. I'd single the 10th race with the 5. Go 4 deep in the 11th with the 4, 6, 1, and 10. And in the 12th, the 7, 8, 10, which would be a $36, $1 pick 4.
All right, and then my ticket real quick. So 2 tickets, which will be for a total of $54. First ticket will be race 9, the 5-10. Second leg, race 10, will be the 1 Baeza singling. For race 11, it'll be 1-4-6, and then the nightcap, which is race 12, 7, 9, 10 for $2. That's $36. And then repeat that, but swap out Sovereignty for Baeza in the second leg for $1. That'll be $18, so $54 total. And normally you would say just take a stand against Sovereignty, but with the chance for some prices in the last 2 legs, I'm willing to throw Sovereignty in on a smaller ticket as a backup because that could still pay even if he does win. So that's an $18 ticket, $54 total. All right, so that will wrap up this episode 165 of Broad Street Hustle. Any parting words from our cast members this evening?
Jace, thanks for deferring, but I will just say this. If people have hung around this long on this particular podcast, sometimes I've been blessed to end the podcast. It's always a pleasure to be here, guys. And hopefully I can get here a couple more times during the summer with that beautiful Saratoga meet. But I want to read you a quick little thing that I happened to pen for the Saratoga special a few years back. It's simply called Christmas Eve. I don't see any snow on the ground, and the temperatures are well above the frost-biting winds of December. The trees and the plants are in full bloom, and the last time I checked, the town calendar was turning to August. But strange as it may be, somehow, some way, today will be Christmas Eve, because tomorrow I'm going to Saratoga. It's the most wonderful time of the year. It really doesn't matter how long you stay. It could be overnight, a long weekend, or an entire racing season. The inner self, the childlike enthusiasm is always rekindled. Unlike so many things in our lives, Saratoga never gets old. Tomorrow I'll be back on Union Avenue, a part of the greatest racing venue in the world. Papa says if you see it in the special, it must be true. Please tell me the truth. Is there a Santa Claus, Virginia O'Hanlon? You mark time all year to come back. That wait can seem interminable. So many events occur from one summer to the next. Some bring great joy. Others test the metal and fabric of our character. Yet through it all, the euphoric highs and the distressing lows, we continue on, hoping to keep that fine balance in our lives that we share. We forever strive to maintain that sustenance that carries us from one year to the next. When Saratoga is in the rearview mirror, a countdown of days before your return begins. For those of us that fell in love with Saratoga, with her breathtaking magnificence, the emotions upon returning are surreal, irrational, difficult to put into perspective. How can we explain the flutter in the belly, the anxious anticipation, the beauty that is Saratoga, a mood alexing elixir, engulfing the senses each time you visit? Grown men and grown women are immersed in childhood once again. When Saratoga becomes steeped in your spirit, you wonder how you ever existed without her. Every moment spent there, you want to freeze in time, a time capsule, a keepsake to keep you throughout the year. A day at the track, the walk through the state park, the dinner on Broadway seem all the more special because it's August and you found a piece of heaven right here on earth. Heaven, isn't that what Christmas is all about? Saratoga makes one young again, if only for the moment. She shares her utopian setting in the foothills of the Adirondacks, annually uplifting the hearts of those who believe. We are forever drawn back to her, each of us, for our own personal reasons, reasons that far transcend health, history, and horses. People of all ages and ethnicities annually travel to those designated exits on the Northway that lead you back to a simpler time and a simpler place. During the Christmas season, we nostalgically rewatch many of our favorite Christmas classics. Some ask us to believe, some question whether we still hear the bells, some inspire with hope and love. For those of us who have been lucky enough to have found Saratoga and have made her alluring beauty a part of our lives, no questions need ever to be asked. Once you have discovered her captivating enchantment, her Yuletide magic, it will remain forever in your hearts. You'll carry it forever and ever. Oh, yes, Virginia, most certainly is a Santa Claus. And 10 times 10,000 years from now, Saratoga will continue to make glad children of all ages. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you as always.
Thank you for joining.
Episode 165 of Broad Street Hustle. Have a good weekend for all you believers and non believers, and we'll talk to you next week.